Leading up to this time that we were together, I had a little bit of time to kill, and there was a stock that was moving. I grabbed it and held it for about 8 or 9 minutes and made my $1,000 that I was shooting for the day. So that's what I like to do: use the stock market and then live life, enjoy myself doing whatever it is I want to do.
So today we're sitting down with Jay Ratcliffe from Cincinnati Day Trade Fund. And Jay, so I'm just going to read off some of the things that I know about you and some of your past. First of all, day trader since 1995, so 30 years of experience. You were a Fox News contributor for 19 years, formal travel coordinator for the Detroit Lions, and you're the president of Day Trade Fund for 15 years. Another thing, iHeartMedia aviation analyst for 33 years. So a long record here. Could you go ahead and tell me about your background?
Sure. I grew up in the Ohio area, Carlisle, Ohio, graduated in 1981, and my passion was for baseball, and did not have any real good offers coming out of high school. So I decided to go to work in the airline industry. There was an airline school down in Kissimmee, Florida, that I went to for the summer of '81. And as I graduated, I was offered a job in some place called Monroe, Louisiana, working for an airline I'd never heard of. At 18 years of age, guy, I couldn't have found Louisiana on a map if you paid me, but I knew it was south somewhere. So I took the job and moved down to Monroe, Louisiana, began working for Republic Airlines, which later became Northwest, which later became Delta, and started my aviation career in October of 1981. A lot of the people that I worked with had jobs, businesses, things they could fall back on, because we would go through frequent layoffs back in the 80s. When the economy would slow down, something would take place. We were put on the sideline, especially once I got into management. It was work for a bit, be laid off for a bit, and I didn't have anything to fall back on. So I kept
Right.
looking for any sort of business opportunity that I could. And it was in 1992, I heard somebody talking about the stock market could be used as a business. And I've got to be honest with you, I thought that was the dumbest sentence I'd ever heard in my life, because the stock market's all about greed and fear. And the idea that somebody could jump in and use it as a consistent business made no sense at all to me. But I was intrigued enough. I kind of began a study of the market and it became very, very interested. And I started trading airline stocks. I would buy and hold for 3 or 4 months and would sell them. I was making 20, 30% a year. Felt like I was the greatest trader in the world. But I'm very risk um, averse. I don't like risk at all. And I'm not part of this buy, hold, and pray crowd that puts their money in the market for extended periods of time. So I was trying to find ways that I could kind of condense things. And during that time, Northwest Airlines kicked me to the curb. My position was eliminated as a general manager. I moved into a motel room. I lived there for 10 years. I delivered newspapers in the morning from 4 in the morning till 7:30 a.m. I would sleep from 7:30 till 9:30. The opening bell would ring at 9:30. I would go until 4 with the market, just studying it, because I really didn't have much money at all to deal with. And then I would go to a place that built GM car seats from 5:30 at night till 2 o'clock in the morning. I was in essence on a 24-hour schedule with a couple hours of sleep to kind of break that day. I was making $25,000 a year, killing myself, but I was convinced that I could make the stock market work. And every year I was getting a little bit better from a percentage standpoint. And, one year I'd be at 30%. My picks were good, 40%, 50%. I was after 75% or better. That's what I was after. And once I came close to that, I knew that I had what I needed. And then the other tools that started to become available to all of us late in the 90s, where we had the trading platforms, the intraday stock screeners, things that really made it even more possible for me to hit my revenue goal of $1,000 a day. And I was moving in that. And then by it was probably May of 2003, started hitting my goals, and was able to move out of that motel room in 2005 and use the market to make a whole lot more money than Northwest Airlines ever paid me.
Yeah, and that's a great story. When I was doing research on you, I really, um, it's you had talked about the Pursuit of Happiness, the movie Pursuit of Happiness,
Yeah,
and I was wanting to hear your thoughts on that.
it's a
Um,
great, great movie, but hard to watch. It
great.
is. Will Smith is a great actor, and I didn't know much about the movie, and I just jumped in and watched it because I like what Will Smith does, and it was a story about him as a single father, what he was going through, battling homelessness, trying to become someone that could, in essence, be successful in business. And it chronicles his story, what he had to go through, the incredible sacrifices he had to make to even just try to land a job and then earn that job and then become successful at it. And it's a great story, but it was hard for me to watch because it mirrored a lot of what I did. Now, the only
Right.
difference, I was living in a motel room, not a hotel, but a motel, the kind where
Mm.
snow blows under the door in the winter when it's snowing. It was 120 square feet of nothing. And so I had that over Will Smith's character, but it was a great movie because it showed what hard work can do. It doesn't guarantee success, but too many people, Guy, just don't have a goal of any kind. For me, when I was trying to learn how to trade, the idea was I needed to see about hitting a 75% or better success average. That was my batting average I was after. And I would go to a lot of conferences talking to people that were hosting, talking about their various approaches. And I said, I'd like to get a system that I could have, 75% success rate. Time and time again, they'd look at me and say, wouldn't we all? And I thought, well,
Mm.
I'm in the wrong spot. So then that's what kind of got me to the point where I was learning on my own. But that's a great movie to watch. That and the Kevin Costner movie that he had, the second baseball movie that he had for Love of the Game was
Oh,
another
yes.
difficult movie for me to watch. I can only watch it one time because at the end of that movie, he accomplished something in his career he'd never done before. And he was in a motel room, excuse me, a hotel room. And 90 seconds, he was just bawling uncontrollably because he had achieved something in his life he'd never done before. And he didn't have anybody at all to share that with. And that was me. I had two daughters live with my ex-wife in a nearby town, but obviously they never saw that motel room. And when I would have different successes, being single at the time, I had no one to share those moments with. And it was very, very difficult for me. It was a very lonely time, those 10 years. And, the whole thought was, and my prayer was, God, if you can just bless me so I can be a blessing to other people, that's what I'm after. And, one thing led to another, led to another. And, now I'm blessed enough to have, two homes, one in Ohio, one down on the river or in the water in Savannah. We bounce back and forth. My wife and I travel constantly. I can do what I do, both on my aviation and stock market interviews on the radio, any TV stuff for Fox or Newsmax or anybody else I can do from the road. And it just happens to be wherever we happen want to go. She's a big Disney fan, so I say, "You want to go to Disney?" And she says, "For how long?" I said, "I don't care.
Mhm.
We'll go
Right.
down there for 2 or 3 weeks because I can trade in the morning, do what I need to do." And leading up to this time that we were together, I had a little bit of time to kill, and there was a stock that was moving. I grabbed it and held it for about 8 or 9 minutes and made my $1,000 that I was shooting for the day. So that's what I like to do: use the stock market and then live life, enjoy myself doing whatever it is I want to do. I have a lot of students in what I train through my company, and that's the whole thing. Make money so you can go live your life doing what you want to do. And all of us who trade understand that we can do something that allows us to live life unlike any other person. To me, the stock market's a great business as long as you are disciplined in what you do and that you have a successful program and approach before you start trading. I talk to millions of people a week through my radio and TV spots, and it amazes me still that a number of people who say, "Well, I can do what you guys do. Yeah, I can do that." And I say, "Well, go practice trade for a year. Make sure your batting average is 75% or better." They don't. They
Mhm.
see YouTube video. You know what happens, Guy. They go out
Yeah.
there and do some of the dumbest things imaginable. Behavioral economics at play where they know what they shouldn't do and do it. And then that's what gives those of us that trade such a bad name because of all the people that very smart, but they make some very idiotic and asinine decisions when they're trading, confidently strolling into Wall Street like, "Hold my beer, I've got this," and it becomes a train wreck in a hurry.
Yeah. Everyone was a beginner once. And I think probably most of us have gone through that where we all feel special and we say, oh, we can go in and do it.
Mhm.
And then, it doesn't take too long to realize it's going to be much more than you'd bargained for. I
Uh,
definitely relate to what you were saying about the freedom to being able to, pack up or just go somewhere and you can really trade anywhere if you can have an internet connection, and that gives you freedom. Um, so that's what I try to let my viewers and really just any friends when I talk to, the reason for doing this is that you gain so much more freedom from having just a job where you have to go to the office. I mean, I
Right.
enjoy trading and I like to do it. I'm fine being in a place and doing it, but having that option to just say, I want to go next week and just go somewhere and I can trade for a few hours a day while I'm there and fund it.
Right.
That's it's really hard to match that in the workforce.
Well, you're a young guy, so I mean, I wish I knew what I knew now, or now at a much younger age. Look, I was 40 years of age living in that motel room with
Mm-hmm.
nothing to show for it. So, being someone that was in corporate America for decades, look, I understand how corporate America chews people up and spits them out. Many times at the airline, I'd have a station where they would be bringing an agent in from the West Coast to fill a position in my city for like 6 months. And the company knew in 6 months the schedule was going to change and that position would be eliminated. And I say, you can't uproot an entire family across the country to come here knowing that in 6 months we have to let them go. And I was told by my bosses that's how it works. And I said, that's not how I work. So we're not going to do it. And I would butt heads a lot of times with my supervisors, but that's corporate America. We know that. Now, it's a little bit easier now because of the flexibility that remote work gives some people. But look, you're still working for somebody else. And how many times have we seen situations where, guy, I read reports all the time about people getting in trouble because when they were on vacation, they didn't answer the phone. When they were on vacation, they didn't return a text.
Right.
They get written up because the idea that it's your time is lost on the person that you're dealing with. But when you can have your own business, and I wanted my own business since I was like 9 years of age. My dad had his own construction company. The thought was I was going to kind of take over from him, but I didn't like it because you were outside freezing your butt off and doing a bunch of stuff. And I wasn't that tough to do that. But I did want my own business, and anything I could find that would give me the flexibility, I would want. A lot of my friends had businesses, the typical stuff you and I see all the time, the brick and mortar stuff. And they are chained to their business. They can't take any time off because if they do, they're scared to death. They've got to find employees that care a little bit. You have all the customer service issues, the inventory issues, all of the tax issues, payroll issues. I mean, you can go on and on and on. And what do? We turn on our computer and we flip a few stocks, we make some money, or don't if it's a no trade day, and we go about our day. It's when I lived in that motel room, there were a lot of times when I would use the market for maybe an hour. And then I would go play golf at Castle Hills Golf Course in Vandalia, Ohio. It was close to the motel. So you know what happens. You get teamed up with other people. And in the first hole, you're teeing off. Jay, what do you do? Well, I used to work for the airline industry, but now I'm trying to learn how to trade stocks and day trade. And boy, you talk about reactions. Well, that good luck with that. Or I say, well, no, I'm here because I've already made money today. I hit my goal of whatever it was, and I reward myself by going and playing golf. Well, then everything changes. And then you spend 18 holes with them trying to figure out what it is you do. And they would ask me and say, how many companies did you use today? And I'd say, well, three. I mean, $1,200. And they ask, well, which companies were they? And I say, I can't remember their name. I remember some of the ticker symbols and this look they would give you like, what? You don't even know their name. Yeah, I don't, because I didn't marry them. I'm not holding them for long periods of time. They hit my criteria. I held them for 3 or 4 minutes a pop, and I was done with them. And that's totally different from the way that other people think. And sadly, it's the predominant way of thinking because they say, well, how long is your due diligence? Well, it took me about 45 seconds. And again, right over their heads, they have no idea what's going on, but it's a lifestyle that if my wife and I are in Europe on a Mediterranean cruise, I can flip on my computer and trade stocks if I want. I can get in trouble doing that sometimes because I'm supposed to be on vacation, but I've traded from, when I was at worked with Northwest Airlines, that's how I was the travel coordinator for the Detroit Lions because they would charter a 757 and I would take them to all their away games. So when we traveled for like a Monday night game or Thursday night game, we'd get to the NFL city the day before, And guy, I was in my motel room trading stocks the day before, as we were getting ready for the football game. So it's something that I do, and Lord willing, as long as I've got my mind about me, I'm going to keep doing it decade after decade after decade, because it totally redefines retirement for all of us. Because we don't have to worry about outliving our retirement if we've got something that provide, one, two, $300,000 a year ongoing, as the market can do for us. It's a great way to live. And yeah, you can live anywhere you want to be. That's why part of the time we're in Ohio, and part of the time we're in Savannah, which is where my wife is from, or any other place we want. She's never been to Graceland, so in September I'm taking a couple of days. I said, let's go there. We'll meet up some friends and we'll check out Graceland. She'd never been to Boston. I said, let's go up there and spend some time. She said, these Chicago hot dogs sound good. Well, let's go up there for a few days. You can do this because the flexibility of what you and I enjoy. And that's the beauty of it. And one of the reasons I've been doing radio interviews for all these decades is to try to educate people on the fact that you can use the stock market. And I want to turn people on to that. Now, yes, I have a school that I train people, but it's a very select number of people a year. What I'm trying to do is just turn people onto the market so they can look for ways that they can use it, spare time, full time, part time, whatever they want to do. Because as you and I know, it's a life-changing event. If you can do something spare time, make 20, 30 grand a year while you're working another job, you can pay your house off early. I took our trading proceeds and the house we had in Ohio, I paid it off 20 years early because I could, because of the way things are with how we use the stock market. So, for me, I'm passionate. I jump out of bed in the morning. Can't wait to get involved in the market. It's a great opportunity every day for all of us to engage stocks, use them or not, and end the day with more money than we started with.
Right. And you have, I would assume you have no expectation of stopping to trade anytime soon.
Oh, good Lord, no. I mean,
Right.
why would I? I mean,
Right.
it's I mean, it took what, 7 minutes to make $1,000. Who walks away from that kind of stuff? It's I don't know. I love what we do, to the point that it really was exciting to talk with you, because I'm thinking, there's a lot of people that watch this and say, well, I don't quite have my system down yet, but I'm moving in that direction. I want to encourage you to never stop. Keep learning, keep trying to do a better job at what you do. Obviously, practice trade for as long as you need to. And then when you feel comfortable and your batting average is high enough, start trading with 50 or $100 and make sure that your batting average is maintained, and then slowly start to increase the amount of money that you use as you go forward. It's life-changing. And now that these trade commissions, good Lord, are practically nothing. I remember when I got started in the 90s, where it was $20 to buy a stock with E-Trade and then $20 to sell it. So you had $40 in commissions that were eaten up by simply buying and selling a stock in the course of a day or a week or whatever. So now that you can spend money on nothing, and not to mention we can trade at 4 a.m. now, which is something that we never could do in the years before. You go from 4 a.m. to 8 p.m. anytime you want, just jump in and use the market. I'm telling you, these are the days with all the technology we have. That's it's super exciting. E-Trade is my broker of choice. They just rolled out their new trading platform. I was very pleased because they asked a number of my students to serve on an advisory board as they were kind of creating that and updating things. And their new platform is not exactly, shall I say, the best thing ever. I'm hoping that they can make some corrections. It always boggles my mind, Guy, when any company rolls out a new and improved platform, and something that used to take one step now takes 3 steps. I'm thinking, do these people that designed this, have they ever traded a stock in their life? Because they're making it more difficult. But look, the tools we have today and the ease that we can do things is incredible. And I'm sure you've seen that there's talk on the horizon of them getting rid of this $25,000 minimum balance day trading. And if that comes around later this year, next year, where $2,000-$3,000 you can trade all you want, it's going to be fascinating, and it's can get more people excited about what we do. I just hope they're cautious and very methodical in their approach, because when the pandemic hit, everybody in the world wanted to be a day trader. I can do this, and they found out they couldn't because they just jumped into it without enough knowledge, certainly not enough practice. And you and I know that the market is all about emotion. the tug of war between fear and greed, and people aren't ready for that. I talk to people that say, Jay, come on, I was a business owner. I had this Fortune 500 company I was president of. I made a decision or a career out of making great decisions. I can do this. And then they get in there and they're not prepared for what happens when things not don't go exactly according to plan. And then they're trying to figure out what to do. And I say, what, you didn't have a predetermined plan when you went in where you're going to buy and sell a stock? It's like, well, I just grabbed it to see what would happen. And I'm thinking, please don't ever go into the bomb disposal business because here, let's cut this wire to see what will happen. You just don't do things like that. And the market's a great place to make a lot of money, but you have to approach it with a great deal of respect if you're going to do so.
Yeah, so about that pattern day trade rule, for anyone that's not really following that, so I believe right now it's in consideration and it's going through legislation, and we'll see how that works out.
Mhm.
And I've always felt like that was a mistake to have that $25,000 pattern day trade rule, because you're taking a beginner that wants to do more than a handful of trades a week. They want to learn. So you're forcing them to put $25,000 into their account, or then they can trade that full 25,000. But if they reduce that, then they could take trades with a $50 trade, and then their
Mhm.
risk might be just
Right.
$1 on that trade. So they're not really,
Mhm.
their losses aren't going to be that significant, but it's it's functionally they're learning the same way. So that's going to be, I mean, that's a
Yeah.
big change. That's
I
yeah, you
remember,
go
guy,
ahead.
when that rolled out, it was like September of 2001.
Okay.
And it rolled out. And the thought was there's a lot more electronic trading going on. And let's set a bar, they thought, at 25,000 because people that have that much money or more are going to be a little bit more conscientious, a little bit more careful. So let's just, try to do this to kind of protect people. Well, it had the exact opposite effect
Mm-hmm.
as you impact, as you
Yeah.
indicated. And yeah, I would love to see it reviewed and certainly reduced. And I think there's a pretty good chance it will. And we'll see where it goes. But even if, and I told my students one time there was a challenge. They said, Jay, you got to have a lot of money to make money. I said, no, you don't. I mean, even if you only trade three, four times, whatever it is in the course of a week, if we have to hold stocks over, which I hate to do, you can still do that. So I took $1,000 for 3 months for an entire quarter from October to December, and I told my students, "Let me see what I can do with $1,000, only 1,000." And I made $8,100 in 3 months, just taking the
Yeah,
rest of the
that's
money.
huge.
Well, it showed them that you can do it. It was a lot like during the pandemic. I was getting ticked at my students because we had so many stocks moving, so many great opportunities, and they were trying to be perfect. I'm going to wait for it to go a little bit further, Jay. And I'm like, perfection's overrated. Come on. And I got so ticked. I took to a portfolio of $27,000. I think it was in March of 2020. And I made $42,000 in a month. And I was showing my students the trades because they were trying to be too perfect as they went. And for people that understand that to be successful, we don't have to buy a stock at the very low. We don't have to sell it at the very high. The ranges that we all know exist. Look, if you're willing to make 5, 8, 10%, take those singles and doubles. They add up a lot, and you can be in and out of the market in no time. It's these people that try to jump in and triple my money. That's what I'm trying.
Mhm.
Well, good luck. You'll do that one out of 100 times and lose money 99 more times. The singles and doubles, I'll take all the time.
So you had your back in your early days, you were working in the afternoon, you were working at night, you were working in the morning, and then I guess you found sleep somewhere in there, and then you were trading in the mornings and did that
Yep.
for a long time, and you came out on top of that.
Yeah.
Um, did this have anything to do with the way you teach now? I believe so. You focus on trading in the morning, and can you kind of walk me through your thoughts on just trading in the morning?
Well, you can. I have some students that have businesses that they're unable to trade other than maybe pre-market, and then they're not available from 9 till noon, and they can trade from noon forward. And I mean, look, the stock I used today was after 12 o'clock, so
Okay.
there are times that you can buy and sell stocks in the afternoon. But what I teach my students is, as the day progresses, you have a slightly shifting criteria because we have left time in the market to hold it. So we have an approach. If it's just pre-market trading, And then there's approach during the regular session of 9:30 to 4. But in the morning, we approach stocks one way. In the afternoon, we have a slightly amended criteria to compensate for the fact that it's in the afternoon. And then when we're trading 4 to 8, like we had last night, we had some stocks in after hours that we could use. But again, a slightly different approach, because you have to understand you have fewer traders. The stocks tend to drop a little bit more. Most of them are moving on news, and we have to be mindful of that. But as long as you follow the predetermined rules that you have in place, the success can be there. And again, you take 10 stocks, you make money on 8 of them, you break even on the 9th. The 10th one, you take your predetermined loss and you move on. I don't care why that 10th stock gave me a loss. If I can figure it out, that's fine, but I'm not going to spend any time on it. And my students that are engineers, they want to know why that 10th stock did that.
Yeah.
I said, not only do I not know, I don't care. I just made a ton of money on these 8 stocks. And, I've had weeks where I make $18,000, $20,000 in a week. And you think I'm going to spend time trying to figure out why those few stocks did? No, I could care less. Focus on what works and manage your losses. The gains will take care of themselves. If everybody's got a predetermined amount, this is the maximum amount of money I'll lose on any given stock, you can help remove some of that emotion that we all feel. When you buy a stock, everything I buy, I expect to go down. I know exactly what I'm going to do, and I follow that each and every time. Well, I try to. There's still sometimes you don't, but for the most part, we all do. And that's where it's at. The more disciplined you can become by exercising what I call those emotional muscles, Guy, you can pretty much approach the market like you're playing chess. You just move some pieces. Things go the way they go. You end the day, you got more money than you want. You can fire off that ACH so you can have that money in your bank account the next morning at 6 o'clock. I mean, you get paid 250 times a year, 250 paychecks. I mean, I remember we used to have to request a check when I was with the trading in the 90s, and we'd get it about a week later, which was pretty cool. And then they came out with a debit card, which was super cool, because then if I made $800, I could go take money out of an ATM right then for what I made in the day. And for a guy living in a motel room, that kind of stuff was huge.
How many trades a day do you think you take normally?
In a typical day, like earnings week that we have right now, we will have probably anywhere from maybe 8 to 10 stocks we're tracking, and we may only use 2 or 3 companies. Now, when the market's more volatile, I might use 8 or 10 stocks in a day. But that's a period where you're talking about making $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 in a day when things are incredibly volatile. I don't care if the market's going up, down, or sideways, because the approach I have is always stocks, only stocks, and it's stock specific. I look for stocks that are making an overreaction, where I can say, hey, this stock is giving us a revenue opportunity. Let's jump in here, make our 5, 10%. And sometimes you make 30, 40%. And on some stocks, because I actually have 25 different ways that I use stocks, some of them will give me a 50 to 100% return. There may only be a couple of those a month, but that's okay when that specific stock hits what we're after. But it's a matter of just having your rules in place and following them. And most of the time, with me, if I hit 1 or 2 stocks a day, that's all I need to hit my goal of $1,000, and I'm done. If I tried to use every stock I could today, there might have been 5 or 6 on the day that we're doing this that we're moving that I could have engaged. I spend most of my day training versus trading. But there's a lot of times I tell my students, look, if I can do what I do, spare time, you have no excuse in the world not to really succeed. I go from teacher to coach pretty quick when I see them kind of dragging their feet when they need to be jumping in there and making some money. Because look, the stock market's incredible, and it's something we can use for the rest of our life. And for people that really understand that, the idea of taking however long it takes to learn it and then use it, it's a life-changing event. I never get tired of talking about it. I'm interviewed about 1,500 times a year, and I will, as long as I have breath, talk to people about the wonders of the stock market and how, if you know what you're doing, it can be used in ways that totally can redefine your life. My daughters are both in the medical field. They're both ICU nurses. My oldest said, hey, Dad, I want to go get my degree to become a nurse practitioner. It's like 30 grand. Now, there was a time I couldn't do that, but I'm like, yeah, I'll pay for it. Yeah, just let me pay for it over time. And I just took my stock proceeds and put my daughter through school where she could advance her career. And when you can make those kinds of investments in your family, your loved ones, or
Mhm.
whatever, I mean, it just, for a guy that spent 10 years living in a motel room, you just can't get over it. And I never want to get over it. The house that we have in Savannah is on the water, where it's on a peninsula. We've got deep water on both sides, and I'll walk the grounds with just my mouth open to this day. We bought it 5 years ago, still blown away by the fact that flipping stocks has allowed me to live this kind of life. And the most scared I get is when I remember how close I came all those times of giving up. People would say, Jay, come on, 5 years. How long are you going to do this? If you've not
Yeah.
done it in 7 years, and what they were saying is just be like us. And I'm like, no, I'm going to keep going. And I did. And thank God I did, because I wanted to quit. Gosh, yeah, because my sleep time of 7:30 in the morning till 9:30 in the morning, that was it, Monday through Friday.
Hmm.
I was exhausted. And I wanted, every time I lost money or did something stupid, I thought, okay, that's my signal, is now's the time to stop. But I was either too stubborn or too stupid to do so. And as long as I kept seeing I was making progress, I was going to keep going. And that's why I encourage people all the time. I don't care what their business dream is. Don't ever stop. Keep going, because a lot of times you can find a way to make it or something close to that happen. And not only are you impacting your life, you're impacting the lives of everybody around you that sees you, or people that you're able to, bless along the way.
So Jay, we have about a minute left before Zoom kicks us off.
Mhm.
If someone wants to find you and learn more and be taught by you, how should they go about doing that?
Well, they can go to jratliff.com, or the company name is daytradefund.com. Most people that hear me on the radio or on TV, they just type in J Ratliff stocks and they can find me easy enough. And if people are wanting to learn for free, they can come to the website and look at the tutorial videos, the success blog entries that are on there for 15 years that I do monthly, the recent radio interviews, the student testimonials. You can learn on your own. It just takes time, and then study to make sure you've got that batting average 75% or better. And you can, like I did, learn on your own. It takes time, but you can do it. And obviously, if anybody has any questions, they can reach out to that jratliff.com or Day Trade Fund.
That was an interview with Jay Ratliff. If you guys are interested, I'll leave all of his information in the description. And thank you for watching.